Hello, everyone. Hello, Nora. Last time we spoke with you, Nora, I really enjoyed our conversation about the importance of finding one's purpose and really gaining clarity about career, because there's so many wonderful professionals out there who may feel unfulfilled with what they're doing, who may feel that like they're working and they're living like Monday to Friday, and then like not really looking forward to coming back to work, and they're living weekend from weekend as opposed to actually enjoying what they're doing and feeling passionate about. And I think with what you do at Careers Kitchen, there's so much value that you can be adding for people. And for me as a life coach and a career coach myself, it's I've really been enjoying our conversations, and hopefully our conversation today will help some people who are finding for their passion and are looking how they can best connect with their talents and experience in their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to talk. I look forward to it.
Yeah, and to begin, can you tell a little bit about yourself and your background and what brings you here?
Yeah, that's a long story, actually. Let me see how I can tell it in a nutshell. So I'm originally from Germany, and growing up, I really excelled and enjoyed sports. My whole life was basically about sports. But I got injured and I had to rethink my life a little bit. And so after high school, I decided to go to the US, and fell in love really with the culture, the open-mindedness, and kind of having access to so many different ways of lives, outlooks on lives, um, and pursuits. So that is actually, I think, the beginning of my interest in how people choose their career path, because that's when my new career path started. When I got to the US, I started studying in a small university, and then changed a couple of times, and was so fortunate to study at Columbia University with a really diverse group of students. And I was so amazed and inspired by their backgrounds and what they pursued, or what they were interested in, what they found meaningful, dedicating their energy and time towards. But when it came to transitioning from school into career, I was really disappointed how much people struggled to align themselves and their personal interests to a career path moving forward. And as we all probably have experienced, especially when we're young, there are lots of social expectations and pressures of getting the right job, working for the right company, getting the right salary, doing something promising. And with those pressures, I think a lot of students ended up, or friends ended up choosing jobs for reasons like the big brand names or the big salaries. However, checking in with them a few years later, so many of them were unfulfilled, unhappy, had lost their original goals that they had, the impact they wanted to drive in their lives, and were really struggling to reconnect to that or find meaning in their work. And so after graduating, actually, I myself went kind of that route. So I became a strategy consultant at a big company. And while I gained good skills, I was myself struggling to find that deeper meaning in my work. And so I decided a few years ago to quit my job and start researching on how people do make career decisions and how we can support them better in that process. And so I founded Careers Kitchen early this year in January, with the mission to empower early professionals to find and pursue careers that are truly fulfilling to them.
Wonderful. And Nora, there is really that connection between what we do when it comes to helping people understand sort of their true passion, what they actually want to be doing with life. We both share experience in in the corporate world, in consulting. We both sort of like being in that environment where there are like those high performers and ambitious people working in the corporate, and sometimes they do, sometimes they do not really enjoy what they're doing and are looking for other ways of finding what sort of things really excites them. And in my experience as a life coach and a career coach, I've exactly spoken with a lot of people who some of them are at the beginning of their career journey and they're looking for ways to make the most of their time working, while for many others, they may have been working for 10, 20 years and they don't have clarity and they didn't find that something that they may have been looking for, or they're just started to realize that they need to find that clarity. And that's when they need help. They ask like, okay, like how do I actually find that clarity? How do I actually know what excites me in life? And I think this really brings us to this subject that we've discussed quite a bit with you before, the importance for a person of understanding how they can best use their skills, their talents in a way that's really beneficial for market, that will help them to serve others with their skill set and their passion, while also doing something that they're really excited about. I'd love to hear, how do you help professionals with that through Careers Kitchen, through your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I started Careers Kitchen, I really wanted to understand what the main pain points are of people at the moment, what they struggle most with when it comes to their career, and what resources are currently already out there supporting people, right? And what I've found is that, one, it's a really big problem, right? It's a wide issue, people struggling in their careers. So for example, Gallup released a statistic saying that 67% of all employees in today's times are either not engaged or actively disengaged at work. That's 67% of people who struggle finding meaning in what they do day to day. That's a huge number, right? But so to come back to your question, why is that, right? And how can we help them? So in my opinion, a lot of the reasons why that is the case is because people struggle with self-awareness and really understanding what it is they find meaningful pursuing, what they value in their careers and maybe their overall life, what naturally engages them at work, like what kind of activities actually make them live up, right? Make them smile, make them shine, like that excites them. What skill sets they're naturally great at, right? Is someone really good at thinking, brainstorming new ideas, thinking about that new product or that new solution to a problem? Or is it more actually taking a problem and getting shit done and being very focused on the outcome, right? Those are things, you can learn them, but they will come a lot more easier to one person than to the other, right? It's like almost being left and right-handed. You can write with both hands, but if you're a right-handed person, it'll always be easier to write with your right hand, right? And it's similar with our skill sets. So becoming aware of yourself and who you are in those regards can then empower you to really align consciously your career towards that. So I believe that self-awareness is one huge aspect. And so we have developed a program that helps people to understand themselves in terms of career-related knowledge about themselves. And then the other aspect is really understanding the market, right? So I still remember graduating, right? And I was suddenly expected to choose what kind of companies or industries I should apply for, right? Well, but actually, how do I even choose? How do I judge a company? How do I judge an industry? How am I supposed to know as a 20-year-old person who has never had, like, well, most, like some of us have, but like most of us have never had a full-time job? How am I supposed to know what role suits me the best, right? So we have spent a lot of time thinking about how we can actually take a company or that bigger question and like break it down into smaller aspects. So for example, any work you will do, you will enter a certain culture, right? You will work in a certain environment. Well, what type of culture do you want to be a part of, right? Do you want to have a culture where it's all about having fun and doing every day something different? Do you want to have a culture that is focused on learning and you constantly learn and gain new skills? Or is it very much you get energy and you get motivated by being in a competitive environment where it's very much about you getting tasks and it's all about achieving them the fastest and the best way, right? So that's one aspect. And then we have kind of developed other aspects about how to look at the market. And then finally, I think there's also some knowledge around market growth that is really valuable. So, you know, as we all know, technology is accelerating our industries at an increasing pace. And while some jobs are decreasing, the demand for other skill sets and job roles and industries is increasing rapidly, right? So becoming aware of where the opportunities lie and how you can connect them to your own interests is also super powerful, I believe.
And I agree with you that it's important to have that sort of practical approach. On the one hand, we're talking about the element of passion, of finding what you love, and all of this stuff that is important. We cannot deny that it isn't, but at the same time, we need to be really practical in making sure that we're leveraging the right skills, that we are telling our story in a way that's helping potential recruiter, potential employer, whoever that may be, who's choosing whether to work with us, that's helping them to understand who we are as a person and as a professional. Because in the end of the day, it's about helping an organization that's hiring us, helping whoever is hiring us, and paying for our time and energy to solve the problems that they are facing. And here it's when I work as a career coach with my clients, I help them to understand that, yes, let's find what really makes you feel authentic, what's your preferred communication style, what sort of things you really enjoy doing and cannot stand doing in life. But also let's focus on what are your actual skills that you could benefit others, and how are you talking about your skills. And something that I do, like this exercise I do with my clients that can be really powerful for some people is like, let's focus on like defining what sort of things you do, not by asking what are you good at, because when we say what are you good at, person mentions like all of those sort of bits from their CV that are a bit generic and that make them look like anyone else. But I say to them, tell me, if you're not part of that organization, of that team, of that project, what are they missing? And that's when the person's thinking, okay, yes, this and that. So that's something that helps people really practically think about how do they see themselves as benefiting their potential employer, the world around them, and how are they actually contributing to that world. And on this note, I think it really is a question of understanding what the reality is, what the market need is, as you're saying, and then understanding what are your preferences, what are your personal inclinations, and fitting those, and sort of, instead of like trying to fight the reality, you're adapting to it. And when you're adapting to reality with the sort of skill set you have, and when they're well aligned, that's when you can really sort of catch the stream instead of trying to swim against it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's we call it like we call it kind of your career sweet spot, where really if you look at yourself, right, and the opportunities you have in the market, right, there's endless opportunity, let's say, but really your sweet spot are the kind of opportunities that overlapping in what it is you really want to do, what you find valuable, what you're interested in, what you're naturally great at, what your strengths are, right? So those overlapping. And then what comes in is the market. So what is available in the market, what is in demand, what is being paid for.
Yeah, exactly that. Finding that alignment between what sort of things you enjoy doing and what sort of things you can actually get paid for and get hired to do. And so what's your approach at Careers Kitchen for helping people do that exercise of finding their unique self, their authentic working style, and then bringing that into the market the way that they can get hired and really benefit others?
Yeah. So based on our research, we have come kind of to the conclusion that the best way we can serve early professionals is actually by creating a affordable career development program that is fully digital online, so people can access it and work on it at any time, anywhere they are, and they can progress through a number of activities that help them to progress through those different topics we just discussed. So that can be let me quit my slide quickly. That can be anything from what it is they find valuable to, again, their skill set, what they're naturally great at, and then really thinking about how do I now, knowing what I want to do and what I'm naturally great at, how can I now take action and actually in an effective way pursue that career that is meaningful to me. So these activities that I'm talking about are a combination of coaching activities that we have gamified to a certain degree with psychologists and other people of our team. Then we worked with psychometric test assessments that are also used for recruitment to really help someone to explore what kind of skills they're naturally great at or what character strengths make them energized and excited in a work environment. And then finally, we have done extensive work to actually then take all these results and insights and connect them to scientifically proven information about the market. So for example, we explore with someone what they really value in their career, and then based on that work, we recommend them, or we highlight certain company cultures that are available in the market and that might suit them best based on their preferences. Or we explore with our users what type of company might play to their strengths. So is it best for someone to work in a large established corporation versus joining a small startup where things are not as structured yet, and therefore you have other opportunities or freedoms, right?
Yeah. I think it's so important to understand one's preferences, have clarity about it, not like, I guess, to go beyond that sort of, I sort of like doing that, and I don't like doing that, but I don't really know what is it that I like or dislike about it, but actually understanding what is it that thing. I think psychometric testing can help with that. Under reflecting on previous experience through coaching exercises is incredibly powerful. But I think something that's also really, really important, something that I remind to my career coaching clients, is that our preferences do not have to define us. They guide us, they show us like where we may prefer to go. But just because like at the time being like someone doesn't prefer, like is a bit more reserved perhaps, or doesn't prefer like speaking in a public, or they've been told that they're this way or that way, it doesn't have to define them. It doesn't have to limit their options, because there are things that can be changed. The question really is whether that individual is true to what they feel their purpose is, or what it might be was as they're exploring, is that individual really serving the people that they want to serve with their talent, with their skills, with all of their passion. And then there are skills that they can learn. And sometimes because of some of their preferences and experiences, it may be a bit more challenging or a bit easier, and that's fine. That's the beauty of the fact that all of us as humans are different. But it's so
Yeah.
important to understand, just because someone told you that like you're this personality or you're that person or that's how, or you had this experience, it doesn't have to define you. What's the most important thing is knowing where is it that you want to get, and then planning how can you get there in a way that's also best matches to the market need.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the purpose of, or the efforts should never be around putting people in boxes or categorizing people. It should always be about empowering someone to achieve whatever they want to achieve and exploring people's potential, right? For example, the psychometric assessments we are working with are actually all framed in that regard. So they are not categorizing in a way, they're more exploring people's potential. And we believe that there is value in having some self-knowledge about what comes easier to you than other things, right? So for example, knowing that, I don't know, so I'm looking for an example. Like, for example, knowing that you, it tends to be easier to you, or comes easy to you, to be very detail oriented, work with spreadsheets, and get, kind of have that number mind of finding solutions or understanding a problem through numbers, right? If that is what tends to come easy to you, and coaching, for example, working with people and understanding, exploring problems through language and through communication might be harder to you, right? Doesn't mean you can't become a coach. It doesn't mean that if that's what you want to do, then you should pursue jobs or opportunities that require that skill set. But I do believe it is helpful for people to have the awareness that they might need to put in more effort to gain that skill than others, or than pursuing a different kind of responsibility in their work.
Yeah. That and understanding what are the basic rules to figure that out in the first place. I think like something that we've just put on the slide, I think the importance of principles. And I think that's it, like understanding that there are some principles. There are principles like we are not defined by our previous preferences or how we are. What really matters is where we want to be in the end. Or as a principle, we need to understand what's the market need and going and I guess putting together, finding the overlap between our passions and the market need. What are some of the other principles, the basic truths that you teach the users in your platform, people you work with, that can really help people sort of wrap their mind around it and get it as a takeaway, I guess with the sort of minimal, like, I guess what I'm saying, what's the main takeaway you'd say? What are the main principles that can help people find that passion in their careers?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I believe it all starts as like, I think you can look at a career more symbolically as like a navigation system, right? So if you look at a GPS, you first think about where am I, and then think about where do I want to go, And then based on those information and kind of some preferences, like, do you want to stay on, like, are you okay with highways? Are you okay with tolls? Are you, right? Like that kind of information, it suggests a route for you. And it's the fastest route or the most direct route, right? So with that in mind, I believe that putting in that effort first to really think about, again, who you are, what you have to offer, and what it really is that you find meaningful pursuing, allows you to actually understand where you want to get to, and then be so much more strategic about your career path or the decisions you make in your career towards that, right? So I believe the first principle is actually putting that initial effort into it rather than just jumping in and making spontaneous career decisions, because in the end, you probably zigzag through your career, which doesn't necessarily mean you make bad career decisions and don't achieve happiness, but you might not achieve your potential and the likeliness of reaching the same fulfillment as if you do it in a more strategic way might be less, right? So that is the first principle to me. And then the other one is we live in a world, right, that is incredibly unpredictable. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous, right? Like you might have heard of like the term VUCA, which kind of summarizes that. So I think a lot of people set themselves the goal to change something, right? Like so many people want to achieve happiness, want to improve themselves and their career. But life happens and things are thrown into our way that kind of break our goals or distract us and things like that. So for example, 60% of us set New Year's goals or New Year's resolutions every year, and only 8% of us achieve them on average, right?
80%.
So 8%.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yes. So I believe it is really important, once you have set your goal or know where you're heading, to set realistic goals that are achievable, that are time sensitive. So really map out what you want to achieve and then track that. And if things change in your life, you can adjust them, but at least you have a plan, you can adjust a plan, right? And you have goals that are realistic and achievable. You should track your progress and celebrate wins. And ideally, don't do it by yourself, right? Have friends who keep you accountable and motivate you, and you might even share certain goals with. It's always easier to do things with others, I believe. And then the last principle I'd kind of share that might be the hardest, but the most powerful one based on the work I've done or what I've experienced so far, is really having an empowering mindset, right? Being your own biggest advocate, addressing kind of those limiting beliefs you have about yourself, the fears you have about not being capable of achieving things, not being good enough, or whatever it might be that creeps in your mind when you think about your future, and that really holds you back from leaping forward. Working on that and replacing that with empowering ones that motivate you and give you that confidence is a huge piece in having a successful career, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely, Nora, that. And I would also add, it's really important to, on the one hand, have that focus and self-awareness and seek it through constant learning and
Yes.
Seeking to understand oneself better, while at the same time remembering that it's okay not to have answers early on or at any point. It's okay to feel lost and feel like you don't really know where you're headed. And it's a fine balance between trying to find where you actually want to be and what sort of things you want to do, while also remembering that nobody really has it figured out, or very few people do. And in the end of the day, like if you're feeling that like this particular opportunity, like you're not ready for it, if you're feeling that that particular opportunity is not something you can do at the moment, it's a sign that you are trying to develop, trying to progress, and feeling uncomfortable, feeling like you don't know what you're doing can sometimes be a good thing. But it's also so important to remember that nobody has to have all the answers all of the time. Like right now we're speaking here about like the importance of figuring things out and doing it. But I must say, like, there are a lot of things in my life that in my career, like I'm still figuring out. I would assume like it's also fair for you, for most people I'm talking to. The question is, are we traveling in the right direction? I really love the analogy of the GPS that you brought. It's like I usually use more of the like a compass analogy. It's like there's a map, and on the map you put like this little cross, like where you're going, and you have a compass, which is your values, your beliefs, the principles that you're using to help you show the way. But there may be all sorts of things along the way. You may get a little bit lost. You don't like really know what sort of path you'll take. Sometimes it's a loop. Sometimes you stop somewhere and decide that's enough for me, or just to take a rest. And that's all fine. Nobody has to have like this mind with clarity all of the time and have focus. But it's so important to keep going if you feel that that's something that you want to do. There's a saying I really like. It goes that it doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. And I think that's so important with one's career, to remember that it's okay to be like at a different stage compared to others. But what's really important is finding what is it that you really like doing and going there at your own pace, while also with focus.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And in fact, actually, no one has all the answers, right? And we are constantly evolving as a human being. And I think finding that potential or reaching your potential is a lifelong journey, right? And things change. And I almost see like your career almost as a puzzle, right? And there are pieces missing and there are pieces already there. And it's about adding towards what you already have. So knowing what you want, but also knowing what you don't know yet is just as powerful. And once you become aware of that, you can also, within your career, experiment and explore the pieces that you don't know yet, right? Like if you don't know what culture is right for you, well, set a goal and explore different types, and you will learn which one is right for you, right? Like there's so much room for exploration and exactly that, finding out what it is. Absolutely. And I think also in terms of like that empowering mindset, there's so much conversation, I feel like, about our current times of how our market is becoming increasingly complex, and it's incredibly hard to pick what you want, because technology is changing and expectations are changing, skill sets are changing. We have to become constant learners and stay flexible, right? And at the same time, people switch jobs all like frequently, right? We don't live anymore in a time where like our parents or the generations before, where you pick your career path with 20 and then in one company, and that's what you do for the rest of your life. We don't live in that anymore. And that has downsides, but it also has incredible upsides. It has given us as individuals such flexibility and freedom to explore, right? Experiment, experience different things. And if it doesn't fit right, change. And I think if you become aware and if you are capable of, or become capable of managing your career, you can actually use that increased flexibility and uncertainty to a certain degree, or change, you maybe want to call it, to your benefit, to your advantage.
Absolutely. Nora, it's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Can you tell us how can our listeners get in touch with you, how they can find out more about your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can always feel free to email me under nora@𝗚𝗃𝗧𝗲𝗃.com, or just visit our website under 𝗚𝗃𝗧𝗃.com. if they just want to learn more about our program and what we do. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from them.
Yeah, thank you. And as for me, I can be reached through my email. It's on the screen, pavel@businesspurposecoaching.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I post quite a bit of content about career coaching and life coaching and finding your way in the world and what to do with it. Nora, thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.